When Rae was 11 years old, her parents had to go to an emergency trip to her grandparents' house, but she had school and basketball practice in the mornings, so she couldn't go. Their house alarm was broken, so Rae's dad told her where his hidden pistol was and made sure she knew to call 911 if something were to occur and to immediately call him after. Rae's dad had always been somewhat paranoid, but their house was in a suburban area that wasn't known to have crime, so she didn't think too much of it. Her parents left after work on Friday. Everything was fine all night and all day Saturday. Rae's bedtime was usually around 11 p.m., but because she had the whole house to herself, she stayed up until around 2 a.m. before she got tired and finally went to bed. It had only been an hour or so since falling asleep when suddenly, Rae heard a random loud pop from outside her room. The sound was from the front door. Rae didn't think too much of it at first because on windy nights there were times when the door would be pushed just slightly and it would make that sound. But there was no wind. Even still, she wasn't very worried. There it was again, followed by a bunch of quiet clicking noises. Rae started getting annoyed thinking that it was the neighborhood stoner kids just messing around in the middle of the night, which they were known for doing so she got out of bed and went outside the room. Her bedroom door has a loud pop to it when opened, louder than the front door, and it can be heard throughout the entire house. Suddenly, the clinking noises stopped, but Rae still felt the need to check it out. There were high shrubs outside her bedroom window, so she couldn't really see outside very well. She went out to the living room and peered through the blinds and choked up when she noticed the hooded figure peek over from the side of the entrance. Someone was trying to pick the lock and break into her house. Rae's mind was racing. He had to have noticed the blinds move, but maybe he ran off. Rae held her breath for a moment and stayed completely still. Not even a minute later, the clinking returned, but more furiously. This psycho was still trying to break in. In her panicked state, she didn't think about calling the police or her dad. A sudden rage came over Rae, and she just wanted to get rid of this guy. She grabbed a can of hairspray in her bathroom, and because of Rae's love for candles, Rae had a lighter in her room as well. She raced back to the door and in one swift motion, unlocked it, yanking it open, and lit that burglar up while screaming at the top of her lungs. She couldn't see the guy well in the darkness and past the flame, but Rae heard a loud scream of anguish. It didn't take long for the neighbors to hear her and turn on their porch lights, which is when she suddenly collected herself and let go of the lighter switch. But when she opened her eyes, there was no one there. The guy quickly ran out of there, and Rae's neighbors had come outside in a light panic and called the police. Her parents were also called, and she explained to them and the police what had happened. But unfortunately, because it was so dark, she couldn't identify him. Rae's mom was freaking out about it, but her dad said he was proud and told her to get some sleep after everything. But that was impossible. She stayed up the entire night thinking about it. The next day, Rae got a call from her parents saying that the officers had caught the guy. A patrol car had noticed someone smoking in a nearby park under the playground, and the officers approached the suspect. Assuming it was one of the stoner kids, they expected him to run. But to their surprise, he approached them and was begging for help. They saw that his entire arm was burnt to a crisp, and when they searched his backpack, they found enough evidence to arrest the guy. And thankfully, he never returned.